preamble to the giving of the Decalogue, the Sinaitic revelation, when God spoke with man. So it says in verse 12, set a boundary around the people and say to them, be careful not to descend the mountain or touch a part of it. So what lies behind this? So I'm continuing with the words which are very relevant today to understand this concept that the people were not allowed to go on the mountain. From the top which came the voice of God to mankind. People of Israel, but it was especially in Sinai, no man's land, which means every man's land. The message was for all mankind. So, all other religions and codes of law originate in the human minds of a given era. They express the conceptions of God, of human destiny, of man's relationship to God and to his fellow man, that are held by given society in a particular period of history. All these man-made religions and codes, like all other aspects of human civilization, science, art, morals and manners, are subject to change with the passing of time. By their very nature and origin, they are nothing but the expressions of levels reached by civilizations at various stages in human development. Not so the Jewish religion and Jewish law. They do not stem from beliefs held by human beings at one period or another. They do not contain some time-bound human concepts of God and of things human and divine. They are God-given. God is the absolute. Through them, men are told by God's will what their conception should be for all time, about God and things divine, and above all, about man and human affairs. So, the famous Dryden, he was called, British poet, he says, presume not God to scan, the proper study of man is man. And really, the Torah given to us is the Torah to be followed by man, given by the creator of man. That is the Torah, that is the deeper significance of the Decalogue. So the distinction between the people about to receive the Torah and the source from which they are to receive it is underscored in the terms of physical separation. The place from which the people are to receive the Torah is very clearly set apart from them. It's elevated in the realm of the extraterrestrial. No man or animal may set foot upon that place, or even touch it. Any living thing that sets foot upon it must be put to death. Only when the law-giving has been completed will the place be restored to the terrestrial sphere, and both man and beast will be once more to walk upon it. Until that time, the people are to be restricted by a boundary all around, beyond which they must not go. All this illustrates the fact of the Torah's superhuman, extraterrestrial origin. So this goes together with what we're taught about God, that God is the absolute. There's nothing absolute in any aspect of the world. It's all related to the absolute. The human being also has been given the spark of divinity in his conscience, but that is the shade of godliness in the human being. So I think this is a basic concept of the Jewish God, how we understand him, and also how we understand the wisdom of the creator of man. Obviously the creator is always above his created being, and therefore the creator's mind is above the mind of man. And just like God is beyond time and space, he is also beyond causality and beyond relativity. But these are all aspects of human measurement. And man We are a being that has its root in the higher mind of the Creator. And that's why our understanding is limited by time, space, by causality. It's through causality, though, and through time and space, that we can relate ourselves, feeling ourselves related as creatures of the Creator, not only the beginning of the creation of nature, but the continuity of nature. Even today in scientific concepts, looking at it from the human angle, the theory is developed of continuous creation. In other words, there's a constant flow of energy that enters into all aspects of what we know and what we're able to keep on discovering in nature, of all things, of all beings, whether it's in outer space or whether it's life on this globe, whether it's any aspects of the surrounding environment or aspects of the human being. And as I explained today, we can have a better understanding of this when human beings have entered near-death experiences, when they recognize that the reality is a spiritual one, the ultimate reality. Spiritual reality which is about time and space, and also about causality, as experienced by those who come back from the trip in this world and they've entered into the heavenly world. Now, this concept of being separate physically from the word of Hashem, to emphasize that we should never think that, like Korach said, that in other words, that the power of holiness lies in the people of Israel, and therefore, as long as a person recognizes that God has spoken to the people of Israel at Sinai, he accepts that. Thereafter, all the Jewish people have an equal part in holiness, and therefore you can follow a democratic method of directing everything in this world based on the holiness of each individual. So, as we explained already, the commandment to become part of the holy nation, it's interesting. It's given the words Kadoshim Tiyu. You're all going to strive for holiness, but you can't have absolute holiness. That belongs to Hashem. Also it says, for example, a very revealing verse, Va'anshe Kodesh Tiyuli. And connect this also with what we described when Korach and his assembly gathered together. So it says there that Anshe Shem, we spoke about that already, Anshe Shem, the word Enosh, referred to the lowest level of human being, the most materialistic and animal-like level of mankind. That's Enosh. As we explained, that's why the deluge is described by the Kippurim Anshe Hashem, by these great heroes and mighty men who were very powerful, but who were extremely corrupt. You know, there's an interesting statement, look back to Churchill actually, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we see this happening today also. You know, those who think they've got absolute power, and they've even got nuclear power at their fingertips, so they think they can do anything corrupt and murder as many innocent individuals as they feel like. We've reached that level. And also that's Anshe Hashem, it's only mentioned by the Mabul. And then it's mentioned by the men of Korach. So Enosh, to explain, one is connected with Onesh, which seems to be punished, to be the lowest level. But it says, Va'anshe Kodesh Tiyuli V'asah V'asadet V'ifah V'tofelu. It says in the Chumash, very fascinating connection, one verse. It says, you've got to be men of holiness, materialistic men, and Enosh means. But you've got to sanctify that materialistic animal spirit which resides outside you. Therefore, don't go and eat trade for food. What lies behind this? Trade for food. We know there's certain physical aspects also to all the types of trade for that there are. Animals even though the species of the animal is kosher, but if you find certain things organically wrong, then you're not allowed to eat it. So it says, how do you express Anshe Kodesh? We eat just like the animals eat. But even all the different species which we're allowed to eat, on the whole, species which are not carnivorous, others they're more herbivorous, others they're more tame animals, in order that the animalistic spirit should not become too strong in the human being. As they say, the person is what he eats. In German, it's even the same word. Der Mensch ist, was ist. It's well known that the Nazi cruelty began with a Bavarian group whose favorite diet was to eat blood-soaked meat sandwiches, but the blood-soaked was born from them. And it's also known that some of the terrorists, how do they train them to become cruel and to not have any feelings of compassion left? They train them to eat live cats or live rabbits or something like that when they're alive. In other words, these are all the most grotesque animalistic instincts which, when they introduce a human being, make them evil. The Torah says, you've also got it. We all have that animalistic instinct within ourselves. But I want you to sanctify it. Otherwise you've got to channel it. So how do you channel it? Limit your diet. That's the concept that lies behind the dietary laws. So this is what Anshe Kodesh. So now there's another aspect. We see at the giving of the Torah, there had to be a gap between the Word of God and human beings ascending the mountain to emphasize that the ultimate words of holiness, they come from God and not from the human spirit. Don't think that you can bring your Kedusha to the level when you think, I know what's right and wrong. Absolutely. No, only God knows the absolute right and wrong. And you can relate to it with your mind, with your conscience, to purify it, to bring it to that level. What happened, I will ask you this question, what happened to Sinai, which was the greatest place, the most holy place surely? Why didn't it remain the most holy place for all mankind? But today we don't even, I'm not 100% clear which is the Mount of Sinai. But in Jewish tradition, after the giving of the Torah, Sinai mountain became part of the Sinai desert. And it became profane from every angle. What happened to the holiness? It was on that mountain. What happened to it? Any of you know?
Stayed with the cloud.
Pardon?
Stayed with the cloud.
Pardon?
Came with the Jewish people to Israel.
Came to where?
To Harabias.
That's right. But how did it happen? Because we know we don't only have 10 commandments. We have many more. 613, they're all hinted at, you can say, take a look myself. It's much wider for the people of Israel and much deeper. Because God, Hashem, He revealed His will in Sinai on the highest level so that the people of Israel would carry with them through all generations the awareness that the source of the Torah is the creator of the world. But then it was continued in the sanctuary. He went on, if you look through the Chumash, speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu from between the cherubs, which were on the covering of the Holy Ark, which contained, while they were wandering in the desert, the tablets of stone, both the broken ones as well as the new ones, which had on them the Decalogue. And then it had also inside, at the end of the Chumash, the whole of the Chumash, the whole of the Sefer Torah was also put in that ark. And Hashem continued his revelation from the Holy Ark. And even afterwards, when the direct revelation of Hashem didn't come anymore, but still, the Holy Ark was in a curtain-covered Holy of Holies, to which in ordinary times people weren't allowed to go. There was also a limitation who could go in. Only the high priest could go in unless somebody had to do repairs. Otherwise, only the high priest could go in on the most holy day of the year. And outside that was the holy place, the Kodesh. Even today when you go in the tunnel of the Kotel, so to show you where there is Mul, it says Mul Hazara. This is the area which is right parallel to the courtyard of the temple, and then there's an area which is parallel to the holy place of the temple, and then there's an area where they also do Chatzot, middle of the night, so that's the Holy of Holies, opposite the Holy of Holies. In the holy place, that was the main place of this service for the Kohanim. But a Kohen could only get it if he was purified. Then comes the courtyard also, where there was the outer altar, and also basically reserved for the service of the priests. And then there was the wider area of the temple, where there was also a special courtyard for Am Yisrael, and then a special courtyard for the women. They could only go in, keeping to certain conditions, on a high level of purification. And then there's the whole Temple Mount. And the Temple Mount also, the Har HaBayit, it was not permissible for people who had any impurities coming from the body to go there. In addition, they weren't allowed to go there with their leather shoes, and there are a lot of laws that govern what you're permitted to do on the Temple Mount. To the extent that, let's say today, all the Rabbanim have agreed that it's forbidden for any Jew to go on the Temple Mount unless it's for saving lives. Otherwise, you can't go. And even today, the majority of those soldiers who stand in guard on the Temple Mount against which you often have provocations and threats, it's happened even people being killed as a result. It's a very dangerous spot. But if we have to have soldiers there, the majority of the soldiers, they make sure they go to the mikveh first, and make sure they don't have leather shoes. They have all sorts of restrictions they try to keep to. But otherwise you're not allowed to go. And therefore, we can even say that today, it's, in a certain way, unfortunately, but that's the situation, the fact there's a mosque on the place of the temple, and the fact that although we know that the Har HaBayit Be'adenu, the Har HaBayit came into our hands, we were able to have control over it, that is de jure. But de facto, it was given over to the Waqf, to a Muslim group to control more or less. And in fact, they're controlling it to a great extent. And we all know what happened when a former minister, after he became prime minister in the end, that he went on the Temple Mount at a certain time, which produced the Intifada, as a result of which many Jews were killed. It's when it started the suicide bombings with buses and so on. So we should take a note from this. Even all the discussions, if you purify yourself in the correct manner, so you go up to a certain place. You certainly mustn't go to the place where the temple stood, because for that there's even according to many, there's a death penalty from heaven. That's a more serious situation. All the Rabbanim, Rashi'im, all the chief rabbis of Israel have forbidden for Jews to go up the Temple Mount. But still, when it was discussed 150 years ago, when the Sultan at the time was friendly towards the Jews, he said, we don't mind here, based on time, going to bring an offering, if you want to do it. It doesn't touch our mosque, because they're only in the Temple Mount, you don't. The decision of nearly all the great halachists was that you shouldn't do it, but it was a minority opinion you can do it, on condition that we're not going to have any hatred developing in the Muslim world. At that time there's been ups and downs throughout the ages, connection with the Muslim clergy. Even today there's a minority group that says really the truth of the Quran, which doesn't mention the holiness of the Temple Mount for Islam. The holy place in Mecca and Medina, but it's changed today. Today they think they've distorted it, and they think today that it's also an important place for them. So perhaps it's from heaven, but there's not only you can even say there's divine providence over what happens to the people of Israel. We go through terrible situations, misfortune and suffering. On the other hand, we do see frequently light at the end of the tunnel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps us and saves us. And Hashem is a forgiving. If you read the prophets more deeply, we see Hashem through the ways of history, the way he deals with situations, as it says in the prophets, developed by the sages. If there's any punishment, severe catastrophes that come upon the nation of the world, is primarily so that we, the Jewish people, who are supposed to be the priestly nation, who will show all the nations of the world the true path of God, that we're not doing it sufficiently. It comes because of us. So therefore Hashem leads different situations for them. So therefore, we can, but as you quite rightly said, Yeshua said correctly, that the holiness of Sinai, it was transferred to the Temple Mount. And just like when the Torah was given, they weren't allowed to go up on the mountain, so they also are not allowed to go up on the Harabayit. But what you see is happening, when people do go up the Harabayit, they're endangering their lives and the lives of other people. Exactly what's happening today. One of the greatest dangers. And today, as I speak here of Hanof, what have we seen in Hanof? There were Muslim workers here in the Hanof area, very friendly and very nice, and they're earning nice money, and they're doing good jobs. We think we can employ them. And then one morning they come along with hatchets and with well, what's their cry? Their cry is Al-Aqsa. That means they think there's a threat on the mosque at the top of the mountain, and with that cry they feel they've got justification to go and murder the Jews, even when they've got thousands filling on, and bring them to death. And we were lucky in a certain way that there were only a few korbanos. I mean, it couldn't be much worse. If you think some of those korbanos were great saints and people who fought to the end to stop them spreading and killing more people. In fact, on that morning, they ran past the yeshiva. Why didn't they bother the yeshiva? Because there wasn't so much of a minyan here. They wanted to find a synagogue where there were more people collected with them. That's the sort of situation we live in, Al-Aqsa. So now from this important situation, and it's correct today, today what did the Prime Minister do? There was a certain big activist who thinks he knows the Torah, he thinks he can decide halachic issues today against the great Gedolim of the Torah and against the chief rabbinate and everything, and he made friends with some of the more moderate Arabs, and he said, he goes on the Temple Mount. But he was very prominent also in the right-wing groups here in Israel, very popular. So what did he do? He made him a member of the Knesset. He attached him to the Likud party to become a member, and he made a rule. No member, he made an agreement with the Jordanians who are in charge of the WAC. What was his agreement? No member of the Knesset will be allowed to go on the Temple Mount. So that's why he's having to restrain him. So from this, anyway, let me jump from this back to Korach. I'm sure all of you who've been a bit through the passage of last week's reading from the Chumash will know that at the conclusion of all the different calamities that came upon Korach and those of the people of Israel who followed him, we read in chapter 17 that verse 16, God spoke to Moshe saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and take from them one staff for each father's house, from all their princes of the house of their fathers, 12 staffs. Inscribe the name of each one upon his staff. You shall write the name of Aaron on the staff of Levi, for there shall be one staff for the head of the house of their fathers. And you shall lay them down in the tent of the appointed meeting, in front of the testimony, where I have set the time to meet with you." So this important matter, following on what you mentioned before, the test of meeting tent of meeting, if Neha tent of the appointed meeting, is in front of the testimony, Edut. The Edut, what is it? At that time, Hashem was still speaking to Moshe from the cherubs, between the cherubs, which was a constant evidence of the truth of the Torah. From there he spoke, and there he gave over the laws. And there were also Luchot Edut. In that tent of meeting, there was under the cherubs the ark, which contained the tablets of stone. So this is the link between the tent of meeting here and the giving of the Torah at Sinai. Then it says, and it shall come to pass that the man whom I will choose, his staff will blossom. Thus will I calm down the murmuring complaints of the children of Israel, which they stirred up against you. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel, and all their princes gave him one staff apiece, one for each prince of their fathers' houses, 12 staffs, and the staff of Aaron was among their staffs. Moshe laid down the staff before God in the tent of the testimony. It came to pass, on the next day when Moshe came to the tent of the testimony, that lo, Aaron's staff from the house of Levi was blossoming. It produced blossoms, sprouted twigs, and bore almonds. Moshe brought out all the staffs from their place before God to all the children of Israel. Each man saw and took his own staff. God said to Moshe, put Aaron's staff back again in front of the testimony, to be kept there as a sign for men of disobedience, so that we put an end to their murmuring complaints that were turned away by me, and they will not die. So Moshe did as Hashem commanded him. So, I read here again the comments, important comments. The Rajesh Mate Aaron is placed beside Luchot HaEdut in the sanctuary. This we learn the significance of the election of the sons of Aaron and the Leviim. The sons of Aaron are chosen after the Leviim are chosen after the people, and thereby the people are kept at a distance from the sanctuary of the Torah. A distancing which is none other than a continuation of the distancing mentioned before the 10 Commandments were given. This Hadbalah took place at the giving of the Torah, and on that occasion the Luchot, tablets of stone, were given as eternal testimonies to the Torah. The purpose of this separation was to show the Torah came to the people and did not develop from within the people. We've already shown there the profound significance of this fact on which the Torah's whole character as eternal, immutable, and inviolable depends. But the same separation of Bala is continued by the encampment of the sons of Aaron and the Leviim around the sanctuary of the Torah. So in the course of time, the need for certain this fact will increase for all classes of the Jewish people, irrespective of profession or occupation, are called upon to study the Torah, accept its authority, and fulfill its commandments. And the Torah is destined to accomplish its mission among the people. The Torah will ultimately penetrate every spirit and every heart, shape every thought and every feeling, every outlook and every accomplishment, and the people's spirit, energized by the Torah and growing stronger from generation to generation, will grow ever closer to the spirit of the Torah. And finally, the gap between the Torah's ideal and its realization amidst the people will close, and the presumptuousness in Korach's claim, Kol ha'ida kulam kadoshim uv'tochom Hashem, that the whole of the community are holy and God is in their midst, will diminish. And the more this ideal is realized, the more grounds there are to fear that man might rebel against the source of his enlightenment, and denying the Torah's divine origin, consider the Torah a creation of the human mind. People will cease being disciples and servants of Torah, and will dare to act in a critical manner. So I think this is the situation today of the importance to preserve the purity of Torah. And today we have where is it expressed today, and what we call the streams of Judaism, because the streams go in many directions, but the common factor of all the streams, from let's call it what's called the open orthodoxy, until those who have, let's call it, Reconstructionist Judaism, Judaism which doesn't insist on believing in God, and many which insist yes, God yes, but Torah no, only certain parts which they feel are in accordance with their culture and environment and non-Jewish environment, non-Jewish ideas. So people think they can even they call themselves rabbis. Even now I saw there's a new type of Israeli rabbi. It's being developed by a certain group who want to say also, you don't necessarily have to believe in God, but you've got to believe in Israel. And they also call themselves rabbi something. So why should we call ourselves rabbi? But this happened in the time of Rav Hirsch. Interesting, he was a disciple to some extent of Chacham Bernai, who was one of the most brilliant minds amongst the Rabbonim in Western Europe. And he became the rabbi of Hamburg, but he refused to take the title rabbi because it had been monopolized more or less by the Reform movement. They also called themselves rabbi. They preferred to call themselves Chacham. Because the truth is also in the Sephardi world, they kept loyalty. And they have Chachamim, often called them Chachamim, the great Talmidei Chachamim, instead of calling them rabbi. And certainly, he was one that had great influence also on Rabbi Hirsch. Rabbi Hirsch himself was the one who really was successful in drawing many people away from the different types of reform movements and bringing them to have allegiance with the Torah. And this is a message very important for what's going on, what's been going on in America for years, and which is now also infiltrating here to Israel. Because in Israel, on the whole, there's been the awareness, even a person who is far removed from observance of Shabbat, observance of Kashrut, and doesn't go to shul, but still, when he does have to go to shul, for example, Brit Milah, he'll call a proper mohel, if he calls the halacha. If he wants to get married, also with a traditional chuppah. If unfortunately one of his family have become lost, he'll also go and have a traditional type of burial instead of cremating them or whatever. So this has been more or less the acceptance even of those in Israel who didn't even believe in God. They didn't believe in the observance of the Torah. But on the whole they say, if I do feel I want to come to God, I'll go to traditional shul. From there I'll find out more about it. So let us hope that this lesson will become important for all of us to preserve in this difficult time where there are so many barrages in the mass media against all human values and certainly against all Torah values, that we will spread the Torah values amongst the people of Israel in Eretz Israel, and that will create a change for all mankind. Amen.
Amen.
Right. Any questions, please?
How could we help those people from Am Israel to get the real view of what is Judaism and what is the true way of Hashem, of the Avodah?
The only way we can do it is, in my opinion, is through education and through a spirit of love and kiruv.
Kiruv.
Kiruv. Only through kiruv. Only through drawing. As Hillel said, Torah. You should love human beings, non-Jews also. That's the policy of Hillel, shown in many things. You should love all mankind, because they're all mankind are also children of Hashem. You have to love them all equally. However far they've gone away from Hashem, however they've gone away from the Torah, however they've gone away from Noach Code, and with a spirit of love and friendliness, try to bring them nearer to the values of the Torah. The particular way in which to do it has to be adjusted to trying to have an understanding of the person or the group that you're trying to influence. You see from Hillel, he wouldn't go and say to a Jew, as he did to a non-Jew, that the whole of the Torah is, do not do unto your fellow man that which is hateful to you. He said, that's what he said to a non-Jew who wanted to become interested in learning about Judaism. He said, this is the whole Torah and the rest is commentary, which leaves a lot of questions. But Hillel had this approach. Depends whom you're talking to. I mean, if you look at all the opinions of Hillel and Beit Hillel, something which we're going through now, I mean, there's so many details and so many different aspects of Torah law, which, so you wouldn't have said this to a person who is already a Jew. But the truth is, when I was the honorary chaplain of Hillel House, they called it, in Manchester, I quite often quoted this statement of Hillel, what he said to the non-Jew, where I said, today it also applies to the majority of the students who were there at the university whom I had to try to bring near. They also knew nothing about Judaism. So you have to explain to them what Judaism is based on the principle of love. And that brings them nearer. Any other questions?
With the Jewish community outside of Israel, I don't know if I heard you correctly, but you said there's some Jews that are taking a more lax approach, yet they're more machmir on certain types of mitzvahs. For example, weddings and other types of things. Why is it that they're lax in certain things and more stringent in others? Is it because they have a hatred towards their religion, they want to take the easy road out, or they don't know any better? Or
both those things apply, and many more. Each person has got different background. There are many Jews who were not taught anything about Judaism, and some were taught certain things. You know that it's well known, for example, very many Jews, even those who've been through the Holocaust, don't want to know anything about the Jewish religion in any way. But when it comes to the Day of the Yahrzeit and so on, they'll go to a synagogue to say a Kaddish. So they feel that, how can I remember my parents? So they go. Like we had in the yeshiva, the one who gave us the garden that goes around here. That's how she described her education. Her mother was a Holocaust survivor and didn't want to know anything, and didn't teach her anything about Judaism at all. And she became a stewardess in the British Airways. So when she was there one day, so the captain comes up to her and said, "You look Jewish. Are you Jewish?" She said, "Yes, I'm Jewish." "So you're endangering this aircraft. You're endangering us." "Why am I'm endangering them?" "Yes, because you know it's why am I endangering? I thought everything depends upon it's not secure here. What? I've got nothing to do with, neither with the ground crew, nor how can you say I'm endangering?" He said, "No, we depend upon one above. And today's your day at home. Your white fast. What are you doing here?" That's the first mention she knew of your people. And she went to her mother. Her mother would not mention anything about any day. The only thing that she remembered was for one day in the year, she used to disappear. Didn't know where she went to. But it turned out she asked yes, she goes to Yizkor to go and say a more prayer for her parents. But otherwise she did not do anything. And then she became, that triggered off when it turned to Judaism, until she became a frum Jewess. That's the story she told us. She's got a plaque downstairs, but
Thank you.
okay. So also tomorrow I'll leave